We begin with news from the United States, where senators have voted to advance a plan that could end the record-long government shutdown. In a rare Sunday session, enough Democrats joined Republicans in agreeing to a deal to restore government funding until January. But the compromise still needs to be approved by lawmakers in the House of Representatives. With the shutdown entering its 40th day, tens of thousands of flights have been canceled because of staff shortages. Food benefits have also been suspended for millions of low-paid Americans who depend on the aid. Let's turn now to our Washington correspondent, Janelle Dumalaon. So the Democrats have voted with the Republicans. How are they able to get enough votes to back this measure?
Yes, Aaron, so that procedural vote is now over. There were enough Democratic votes for this measure to allow for the reopening of the government to move ahead. And what appears to have happened is that a group of Democratic lawmakers broke away to come to an agreement with Republican lawmakers on this. Now, just to back up a little, if we remember, the reason that Democrats had resisted reopening the government was because they were looking for an agreement to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits that were expiring at the end of the year. And until now, they had presented a very united front on this. But now what has happened is that Senate Majority Leader John Thune of the Republicans has now committed to holding a vote to extend those ACA tax credits in the second week of December. And clearly, this was enough for some of those Democratic lawmakers, and a lot of them also cited the burden that this historically long shutdown has put on the American people, whether it's the uncertainty it created for families on food assistance programs or those air traffic controllers who were not getting paid. However, this really does set up a fight among Democrats. There are those of them who would say that this agreement from John Thune isn't going to be enough for them. There's also nothing to say that the future of such a legislation to advance these ACA tax credits would be very bright indeed. There are a lot of Republicans, especially in the House, who would not be voting for it. And President Trump himself has also spoken out against these tax credits.
So, of course, this was just a test vote. What exactly are the next steps?
Yes, exactly. So this is a procedural vote. So that means that the actual measure itself still has to be debated in the Senate, passed in the Senate. That's expected to happen right after this procedural vote. And then it has to clear the House, and then it goes to President Donald Trump for signing. But that could take some doing still, especially that part about it needing to clear the House. Remember that especially House lawmakers have mostly been in their districts since the government shut down. They would have to make their way back to the Capitol in order to vote. Now, because of the shutdown, of course, there has been a certain level of chaos at the airport, so that could get a little complicated. So this is a process that could take at least a few days. The earliest estimates I have been seeing for the government to possibly reopen seems to be Wednesday.
That was U.S. correspondent Janelle Dumalaon in Washington. Thank you very much for your reporting.